Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about the next major cards that you should look out for as a late soldier player. I already have a video talking about the pace chasers and also front runners. If you are interested in watching these, then feel free to do so after this video. The late soldier strategy is a very interesting strategy since in actuality there is a lot more Umas that you can pull for than pulling for cards. So that means is that on quote unquote paper it should be more easier to afford this strategy and make it more effective. Before we start, if you found this video to be helpful, consider subscribing. This has worked the last 2 times, so you feel free to actually subscribe. Anyways, let's talk about the cards. I've talked about these 3 cards way too much, so I'm not going to give them that much time. If you are looking at them in a detailed explanation, then go to the page chaser or a front runner video. Those are mentioned there. But in general, the recommended limit breaks for Light Hello is going to be at least 2 limit break. 3 limit break if you are looking at it from the race bonus perspective for making a track, since you can also use this card for parenting there, since this is actually a very strong card when it comes to the gold. Then you have Agnes Tachyon. You must have it MLB, especially if you are not going to pull on Sakura Laurel speed. Then this card will have to be as a substitute for Sakura Laurel. Then we have Mejiro Ramonu. Starting from Mejiro Ramonu and onwards, you want every single card to be at max limit break, since for the most part 3 limit break and max limit break difference is a big difference when it comes to most of these cards. So that is basically TLDR of these 3 cards. Light Hello, again, you want it to be at least 2 limit break, 3 limit break if you are looking from making a track parenting perspective, Tachyon max limit break, and Ramonu at max limit break. There will be honorable mentions. These are good choices provided that you have the cards for them. Since the late soldiers do not have that much to pull for in terms of cards, then you can consider pulling on some specific Umas if you are very interested in them. The first option is going to be Daiichi Ruby. This is a very interesting Uma because of her unique and also her gold skills. But let's talk about her attributes. Her attributes are actually very decent for the sprint, mile, and she can run medium. She can't really run long, unfortunately, but you can make it work if you put the spark investment in them. She can technically run every single possession at A, but I would just recommend you sticking with either late or end closer, since this is mostly a backliner Uma. And of course, she has one of the best growth rates in the game, if not the best, being power and wet growth. These 2 are very strong, and of course that is much appreciated. Her release date is about December 2026, which of course still is a far bit away, but considering that you probably will not pull for that much, then you should consider saving some carats for her. Her unique skill, Rage Supreme, activates on the 2/3 of the race. So unfortunately I have to say this, the 67th mark of the race, this unique will trigger if you haven't rushed and you are between the 5th to 8th place position. What that does is that you will get a current speed increase, which is very good, and then you actually debuff some Umas that are ahead of you or those that are around you. This is a very good unique, especially because this is a current speed increase unique skill. The next part about her kit is the gold skill. She has the gold skill defined, which is a late soldier skill that procs if you are 4th or below, and it has to be on the final corner. So at a random point in the final corner, provided that you are 4th or worse as a late soldier player, you will proc this skill. What this skill does is that it will give you a target speed increase then it will debuff 3 Umas ahead of you and 3 Umas behind you. So you get a lot of debuff value from this skill. This is a very strong skill because it gives you both a target speed increase while also decreasing the speed of other Umas. This is like Speed Eater pretty much, and if you have played CM14 or any Mile CM, you know how strong Speed Eater is. Her other gold skill is Lightning Speed. If the distance is a sprint or a mile, provided that you are in the late game and you are 5th or below, you would have an overtake target, then you will immediately proc the skill. So this is a very strong skill because you don't need to rely on, oh, you want to be 6th or 5th place position and pray. No, you could be an encloser and proc this because you are going to have a very likely hood of being very far behind. This skill is very strong because if the lobby is front heavy oriented, this does not care about, oh, you have to be a specific position. Let's say you are 7th and you have an overtake target in the late game, you proc this, so you still have a fighting chance compared to Let's Pump Some Iron where you have to be 6th place position exactly to proc this skill. So this skill is a very strong skill. Unfortunately, it can only be ran in sprint and mile distance tracks. Next up, we have Symboli Kris S. This is mostly a card for the spenders because of the gold skill, but if you are a spender, then you can justify pulling for this card. If you are a free-to-play player, then this is probably going to be your borrow slot, so this is something very important that you should look out for. So for this card, I will probably recommend at least 3 limit break because first off, the hint levels is of course very good, especially since this is a late soldier oriented card, and you also want the skill point bonus, but that is unlocked at 1 limit break. But the numbers over here are genuinely just much better. The race bonus becomes fixed. It's not random increments. You still care about some race bonus even after making a track, about 35%. So having this is slightly iffy, but in general you get the point. You want to have the race bonus at 5% because again, you don't want it to be a weird number. 2, you want it to be at 3 limit break because of the head levels, especially since this card has a decent hint pool, plus the skill point bonus. It is unlocked at 1 limit break, but again, this is something that you want. And of course, the mood effect is like, this is like 6% training effectiveness, so think of it as like a difference between 1 limit break to 2 limit break Riko Kishimoto, but in general I would at least recommend 3 limit break on Symboli Kris S. As for the hints, as you can see, she has Passing Pro, long straightaways, late soldier corners, 1,500,000 CC, Fearless, Slick Surge, and Devil May Care. This is the common version of the gold that this card will provide. So as you can see, the hint pool is really decent in general. You have 4 late soldier skills and 1 that is a late soldier for the long distance track, and this is also a long straightaways, which is of course decent. So here is the gold skill. This is something called Lose Yourself. If you are in the long distance track, provided that you are a late soldier and you are on the last spurt, which means that you are entering the late game. If you have enough stamina to go to the last spurt, if you are 4th or below, you will proc this skill that frame you into the late race but consume some stamina. This skill is extremely good. The reason is that this is the only reliable acceleration that you will get as a late soldier player for long distance track for a really long time. So this card is mostly pegged for the gold skill. while the long distance track itself is not really that common, it becomes more common in the future. This card in general is just for mostly the spenders, or you have like an empty bar slot, then this card is extremely good option for you. Next up we have Manhattan Cafe Wit. This is a very strong wit card in general, but this helps the late surger players the most. So for this card, as you can clearly see, I would just straight up say that you need MLB version of this card. Why is that the case? It's because of the initial friendship gauge and the unique effect. You have to be at complete gauge, or like the max, to get this effect, which is 2 whip bonus and 1 skill point bonus. If you have been playing with Mr. CB, you know how strong 1 whip bonus and 1 skill point bonus is. So this is a very very strong effect. You want it to be at max, and she only gets initial friendship gauge starting at 3 limit break, but she gets an additional 15 at max limit break. So you want it at max limit break straight up, and this is something that is going to be very very strong after it gets to the max bond gauge. And the training values is actually very good as a roamer too, because you have 15% training effectiveness here, and you have 14 mood effect. At great mood, this translates to about 8% training effectiveness. So in actuality, at great mood, you have 23% training effectiveness. This is extremely good in terms of overall strength when it comes to a wit card. As for the hints, this is a card that is mostly for the medium and long distance track, that is also for the late surger players. You have Molder Breaker. Long straightaways is of course very nice. Free Spirited is a nice skill, but it does reduce your speed, but it gives you a lot more recovery compared to usual. Deep Breath is also nice, and also Lock On is a decent skill. Great Haste is good, and then again we have Devil May Care, which is the common version of the skill Lose Yourself. So this is a very very good skill. Like I mentioned with Symboli Kris S, this is still probably your only reliable acceleration as a late surger player for the long distance track, and this is a wit card. So if you are in need of a wit card in the future, provided that you do not have fine motion yet, then you could consider pulling for this card. This card also has the benefit of giving you cooldown if you are a non-late surger player, and also in the first chain she has Tel Health High, but it ends the chain. So if you get a spook of this card in your career, then you have free Tel Health High. So this card in general is a good card, and if you are not a late surger player, you can also just go with cooldown instead of Lose Yourself. And keep in mind that in the second year anniversary onwards, cooldown Breath of Fresh Air gets updated to be a mid-game recovery on a straight. So both of them are actually going to be decent overall skills, and as effective as Swinging Maestro. Then we have the banners that I would recommend for every single late surger player to pull for, at least as a baseline. These banners, and moving forward, have a long lifespan, especially for the card, and for the Umas, they have great overall kits. So as the first Umas that we will talk about is going to be Sakura Laurel. Sakura Laurel is a very very strong long distance track Uma because of her unique skill. Her attributes are Mile C, which is decent because that means that you only need 4 sparks to get it to A. This Uma can be ran in mile and medium, but she has an extra effect for the long distance track, so that is already very strong. She can be run as pace, late, or end. She can, ideally you want her to run in both late or in closer, so either one is going to be the best for Sakura Laurel. The release date is going to be about next year in January, but this Uma is very strong because of her unique skill. Her unique skill is having two separate conditions. The first way to trigger this unique is that if you are in the long distance track, exactly halfway throughout the race, if you are third to the 7th place position, you will proc it. What it is that you get 6 seconds of target speed increase, and as you can see, 0.075 stamina recovery. This is a very strong effect over here, the stamina recovery. The target speed increase is also very nice, but for the long distance tracks, that means that you have a gold and also a white just built into her kit. That is extremely good. And if it is not a long distance track, then you will still practice skill, but it will last for 5 seconds and it's a 0.25 target speed increase. So still a usable unique, especially since this can be used to close up the gap between you and the front runners. So unique wise, even off long, it is still an effective skill. And a very good note, since this skill is having a 0.075 stamina recovery, is that you can actually inherit it for your late soldiers. She has a 0.035 stamina recovery, which of course is very strong. So in general, this unique is actually just straight a better version than Superior Heal. This is the Fantasy Grass Wonders unique, which of course, if you have played with champions beating 8 or champions beating 11, you know this skill is very effy, especially in sub lobbies where it will just refuse to proc. As you can clearly see, you have to be overtaken by somebody in the mid game if you are 4th or below. This is a very harsh condition, and Fantasy Grass Wonder herself, her career is very bad because she doesn't have any skills at all that helps her win. But for Sakura Laurel, that is the complete opposite. Her career is easy. You get a better unique skill inherited, and you also get some speed. It's not that much of speed, but it still is something alongside the stamina recovery. It is a better version than Superior Heal. As for the gold skills, her first gold skill is going to be Keep Going, which is a gold version of 4th Rollo. This is a very good skill, even though it says a 0.04 stamina drain. Later on, it gets buffed to only consuming 0.02. So if you ran Sakura Laurel, you can actually pick this skill for her, since her unique skill will pretty much mitigate the effect of this. While yes, you are reducing the overall stamina gain, you still get a 0.45 target speed increase. This is a very strong skill. She also comes in with innate tail health high, which of course is the best skill in my opinion in the entire game. As for her other skills, she has something called Tooth and Tail. It is a very simple skill. If you are a pace chaser or a late soldier, if you are having an overtake target in the second half of the race, you get target speed increase. This is essentially a mid-game skill. It is nice to have it to close the distance between you and the front runner player. So this is a decent skill, and in one fell swoop, this is a very strong skill. So if this is a long distance track and you are a late soldier player, in the first half of the final spurt or the final leg, you actually get a current speed increase for 3 seconds. This is a very strong skill, and especially since this is pretty much a home stretch skill. So this is again a very strong skill because this is a current speed increase skill. Next up, we have Neo Universe. This is going to be a very broken Uma for medium distance track. This is a her kit is so absurd for medium distance track, and I cannot comprehend why they have given her a specific gold skill that let me just talk about it once we get there. Anyways, let's talk about her distance. As you can clearly see, she can run mild, medium, and long, but she is mostly broken for medium. She can be ran late, pace, and end, but again, the best two are late or an end closer. Mostly actually late surger. Then, her growth rates. 30% wet straight up. This is one of the better pure wet growth in general, and this character has the benefit of just you can solo Ramonu wet and Project Lark because 30% wet and Mejiro Ramonu is just going to cap your wet very comfortably. She also releases within the same month as Sakura Laurel. So her unique skill, this is called Aid Astra. What it is that between the 50% of the race to 55% of the race, if you are between the 4th to the 7th place position and it's a medium skill, a medium race, and you have activated 7 skills throughout the race, you will get a target speed increase. This is a very very strong skill because you proc like if you do this condition over here is very easy. This means is that for the most part, if you proc a skill, you will probably pluck this unique too. So this is a very 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 overall strong skill. You will proc it in times where it is ideal to proc it to catch up to the front runner. This is a very strong unique. If it is not a medium course, you just proc it also for free, because you have to be between 4th to the 7th place position throughout the 50% to the 55% throughout the race. So it still procs off of medium race courses, but the effect is lower. This is the standard for unique skills as well, so that is fine. She comes in with Slipstream, and the skill come what may. This is a final straight skill that procs between the 2nd to the 5th place position. So this is a very very good gold skill in general. And then she has Slipstream, which is very good for late surgers since you will be behind a lot of Umas. So this has a very high likelihood to proc. Then we have the gold skill Luminescence. I don't know, Luminescence. This skill is broken. This, like, broken is not enough to describe how broken this skill is. If Still had like a child, and that child was like, oh, I'm going to use a medium distance tracks only skill, then this is pretty much the skill. If you have progged 13 skills in the entirety of the race, and this is a medium, you get 2.4 seconds of current speed increase. This is absolutely broken, because you will probably prog the skill off of something. This is guaranteed. So if you proc, like, let's say a different gold skill, let's say you proc, for example, come what may, okay? This is going to probably be your 13th skill. Then you will proc Luminescence. You have a current speed and also a target speed increase. So you have a lot of extra speed compared to usual than any other late surger. This skill is only locked to New Universe and her autumn version for the most part, and this is a very very broken skill. This will win you a lot of games. I cannot comprehend how broken this skill is until she comes out and you play with it. This is again one of the most broken skills. If this does not have a medium condition on it, this would have been flat out the best skill in the entire game. Anyways, her other skill from her potential is Restraint. This will actually come out very soon with Sweep Tosho. What it is that it will increase your wit step by 60 and actually reduces the chances of you being rushed. So an Uma that has a rushed condition on her unique, you actually would like to have Restraint. because it will reduce the chances of you being rushed. So yeah, this is a very good skill in general. And the wit will help you get better advantages in the race wit checks. So in race wit checks will actually be better with, of course, restraint. So this is not a bad skill, this is a broken skill. And also comes what may is also a very strong skill, and Slipstream will proc a lot for the late soldiers. So overall, Neo Universe is actually a very strong Uma because of her unique activating in medium, which is very strong, and Luminescence is straight up the best skill for the medium distance track, because again, if you have played just with TL9 Tamamo Cross, that is just a fraction of what Luminescence is. So if you have played with Tamamo Cross and you know how broken TL9 is, this is straight up just better. Then we actually have the first card that I would recommend that you max Limit Break. This is going to be Jungle Pocket. This card can actually be used by both late soldiers and enclosers because of the unique skill. But in general, at this point, this is going to be your best in slot card for the late soldier for like a year until like still in love speed. So I would just recommend you just max Limit Break this card once it comes out in general. This card has innate skill point bonus, which of course is nice. She gives you +3 speed bonus when the bond gauge is full. This is a very strong effect, and you ideally want it to get to the max bond gauge as soon as possible. So it is very important to get this card at maximum break. Again, it doesn't seem like much in terms of friendship gauge, but the race bonus still slightly matters. The overall amount of specialty priority, the training effectiveness, etc, makes it worthwhile to maximum break this card, especially since this card will be used with El Condor Pasa speed as a late soldier player or an encloser player all the way until still in love speed. As for Jungle Pocket's hints, as you can see, she mainly specializes in medium on long distance tracks. Corner Adept is very strong because again you have Professor of Comforture. When this card comes out, it's with Kite-san Black, but then 2 months later you will have El Condor Pasa, so very strong. Medium straightaways, that is also very strong. Medium corners. Rising Passion is a medium and a long distance track that will proc if you are, like, I believe between the 4th to the 7th place position. It's a late soldier oriented skill in the final leg, like in the second half of the final leg. So this will be a very good skill. 6 Surge gets buffed to be in the first half of the late race, though it's still a gambling acceleration. It's still slightly more consistent compared to the current global version. So this is not a bad skill, though still again it's still gambly overall. Take the Chance is essentially 6 Surge. It also gets buffed to be in the first half of the late race. So overall it will be a decent skill with 6 Surge, but I will still not recommend picking either unless you are overflowing with skill points. And then you also have Witful. This is going to be a hint level 2, so that means that you get hint level 3 from these hints. That is of course a very nice thing. As for her events, since I want to talk about it, as you can clearly see over here, she has the chance of you getting plus 15 bond, which is going to be very good to get her condition fulfilled much quicker. If you fail, that is okay, you still get bond, but this is plus 15 bond. This is actually a lot. This is essentially 3/4 of an entire bar, so very strong. Then in the second chain, you could actually get her gold skill on the second chain and it will end immediately. Or if you got unlucky, you still get 10 bond and also the skill All I Have Got. The Surging Beast is not the gold version of All I've Got. This is actually a skill that you can RNG get it from Jungle Pocket speed. So as you can see, 15 here, and if you fail the check over here and still continue, then you will get 25 and then 30 in general. So if you high roll, you could get 30 bond gauge from her events. So that is something, of course, very nice. In the second chain, this is her gold skill, which of course is nice, because if you get the gold skill version, the chain will end and now you have more options to finish the chains of other support cards. So that is of course very nice. If you get the top option, then you will have to wait until she procs her chain event again. Then you have a chance to get either hit level 3 or hit the level 2 in terms of Surging Beast. But overall, this is a very interesting chain that I just wanted to talk about. Surging Beat. This is a very strong skill for the medium and long distance tracks. And keep in mind that in the far future, the most two common race courses are going to be medium and long. So this actually will have a lot of times that this will proc. This procs in the first half of the late race, provided that you are between the 3rd to the 7th place position. So this is a very strong skill, and what it is that it gives you current speed increase. Current speed increase is unlike target speed increase, where it will instantly put you to your top speed and not care about your acceleration. So while this on paper is like, wait, this is going to proc in the first half of the race, while on paper it sounds like a bad skill, because skills is a proc early in the late game that are not acceleration sounds weak. Because this is current speed increase instead, it will be very good for you. So overall, this skill is very strong, and again, it procs in the medium or long distance tracks, and late soldiers can benefit a lot off of this skill. Lastly, we have Bamboo Memory, the summer trip version. This is a very strong sprint Uma, and this is probably the meta Uma for a very long time. If you like Bamboo Memory and your favorite distance is sprint, then you should get this character. Her growth rates are 14% to speed, 8% to power, and 8% to guts. She has a February 2027 estimate of a release date. Her unique skill has two separate conditions. The first trigger is that if this is a sprint in the last 200 meters, provided that you are 2nd to 5th place position and you have overtaken somebody at the start of the late race, then you will get target speed increase. Otherwise, it will be basically Triumphant Pulse, but with a weaker effect. Now you are questioning yourself. This is basically just a Triumphant Pulse. What makes her very good? And that is because of the gold skills. She has innate on your left and turbo sprint. Those two skills will be buffed to where it will only proc in the late game for turbo sprint. So current turbo sprint can proc at the start of the game or at the final straight. This, however, procs only at the late race, which of course is going to be very strong, because now it doesn't care about the straight condition. Now it can be proccing in the final corner at the start of the late race, and again for on your left it can proc in the first half of the late race. So both of them, while acceleration gambling skills, will be strong. And unfortunately, sprint champions meeting for the most part is RNG slop, so you will probably have to use Bamboo Memory because she has the most advantage with gambling accelerations for the sprint distance tracks. And then finally we have Mei Sticky and El Condorpasa. You want to get at least 3 limit break for Mei Stick, and you want to max limit break El Condorpasa speed because this is going to be the next generalist card. But this video is already lengthy enough and I do not want to go in detail about these two cards until we go further and get closer to the release of Project Lark scenario. As for the poll plan, because I did one for pace and front, this time I'm not going to give a poll plan because I have received so many comments about, oh, why didn't you put this character? Oh, what about this card? What about this? I just made that list so that you get a baseline. Personally, on my opinion, coming up with your own pool plan is better than me giving you a pool plan that you should follow. 2, it lets you gauge your situation much better because, oh, I know my monthly carat income. Oh, I can afford this banner. Oh, I actually can't afford this banner. And 3, it's because I do not know who are your favorite Umas. When I made the Pace Chaser video, I have received so many comments of like, oh, I actually really like Ballroom Mejiro Arden. I like, let's say, a different Uma that released in similar time. What should I do? This is the problem with the last video, so I have decided to not show a pool guide in general. This is mostly for those, oh, I like Universe, but I also like different character that comes out in the same time. Which character do I like more? And then you pull for that. You could technically not pull for New Universe and then like do the 2.5 year anniversary selector since those character comes out after Mejiro Ramonu, but this is TLDR of what I was trying to summarize. And 4, because I'm lazy. That's it. That's pretty much it. If you found this video to be helpful, consider subscribing and consider joining the community server linked in the comment section. And I will be making an enclosure version relatively soon, hopefully. I have taken about like 2 weeks from quote-unquote break because I had college. I'm very sorry for those who were waiting for the late surgery video for this long, but finally it's out. I will try to make the enclosure one pretty much like in a week or a week and a half from now, and I hope to see you in the next one.